Rome, the eternal city, an epicenter of dominance and prosperity. A city at the apex of the world filled with laughter and celebrations, where wine flowed as freely as the Tiber River. The grandeur of its marbled halls echoed the essence of divinity, at least the kind of divinity as understood by the Romans. The gods they worshipped were reflections of their own desires of power and indulgence. But amidst the revelry, a true divinity whispered through the hearts of men and women, a humble, serene whisper that spoke of the God who is supreme above all others. Born Lucius Domitius Ahenobarbus, destined by the whims of fate to become Nero. The year 37 AD marked his entrance into a world rife with power plays and veiled threats, nestled within the heart of the mighty Julio-Claudian dynasty. His mother, Agrippina the Younger, was the embodiment of ambition. Her veins coursed with the searing desire for power, not for herself, but for her precious son. Her matrimony to Emperor Claudius was not a union of love, but a well-calculated move in the deadly game of thrones. This move positioned Nero, now Claudius Caesar Augustus Germanicus, as stepson and successor to Claudius, be it not for Britannicus, Claudius's biological son, Agrippina purred.
Nero, my son, to secure your throne, we must eliminate Britannicus.
Her voice dripping with malice.
But he's my blood.
Blood means nothing in the pursuit of power. Britannicus is a threat. Threats must be extinguished.
He's my brother.
A touch of innocence still in his voice. According to prominent historians, Agrippina and her dear husband shared a plate of mushrooms, one of them being poisoned. Shortly thereafter, Britannicus met an untimely demise, likely by poison as well, just before his 14th birthday, clearing the path for Nero's rule. Upon the golden throne sat young Nero, his innocence not yet touched by the fiery lure of power. His tutor, Seneca, a philosopher of repute, endeavored to sculpt his mind with virtues of justice and compassion. Yet, the whisperings of Agrippina slowly but steadily started to erode the pristine canvas that was Nero's conscience. In the initial years of his reign, Nero showed promise as a ruler. He reduced taxes, supported the arts, and initiated public works projects. His interest in the arts and culture led to a flourishing period in Roman literature and theater. Seneca's words breathed life into the theaters, setting the stage for an era of cultural efflorescence. The city's skies witnessed the growing camaraderie between Roman and Greek artistic spirits, fueled by Nero's love for Hellenic traditions. The year 39 AD marked the birth of Lucan, whose veins carried the same poetic ink as his uncle Seneca. When he matured, his epic Pharsalia traversed through the alleys of Rome, narrating tales of valor from the civil war of Julius Caesar and Pompey. Amidst the echo of poetic verses, the architects were busy chiseling the stones of Rome's theaters. As the sun cast long shadows, the theaters became the heartbeats of Rome, pulsating with daily performances that mirrored the political and social scenarios. The Roman masses found their reflections in the characters that danced on the stage, intertwining reality with fiction. But not everything was a poetic saga.
I want more.
Nero declared, his voice laced with a dangerous hunger.
I want it all.
Seneca recoiled.
Nero, power should serve the people, not enslave them.
The whispers of a new faith, followers of Christ, sowed seeds in the hearts of men and women, the seeds of Christianity, built upon the rock of truth in 33 AD, its simplicity and humility standing in stark contrast to the indulgence of Roman paganism. Emperor Nero, an embodiment of Roman extravagance and deity, views the rising tide of Christianity with growing disdain. His narcissism saw not a threat to Rome, but a threat to his divine status. He loathed the Christians' rejection of him as a god. He watched from his throne as the city, his city, becomes a brewing cauldron of tension between the old and the new, the pagan and the pious. As Nero's power ascended, The whispers continued. His inner circle turned into a cacophony of influences that slowly began chipping away at the soft marble of his conscience. Agrippina, once his guiding star, now became the epitome of a threat to his realm. Their confrontation was inevitable, and it was on a cold, misty morning that Nero found himself standing before Agrippina, the air between them tingling with the bitterness of broken bonds.
Is it the throne that has clouded your heart?
Nero, his face a mask of stoic resolution, spoke with a voice that trembled with concealed rage.
No, Mother, the roar of Rome beckons. Your desires threaten me and my empire.
The words were spoken. The die was cast. Nero gave the order that would send shivers down the spine of history. His eyes, once soft, now bore the cold hardness of the gemmed throne he sat upon. The first attempt to eliminate Agrippina failed. As the sinister waves danced around the doomed vessel, fate held a different card. Agrippina escaped the cold grasp of death as she swam ashore under the ghostly glow of the moon. The public whisper of his failed attempt gnawed at his pride, twisting the love he once bore for his mother into a dark, poisonous revulsion. It was in the year 59 AD, Nero, with a heart now encased in stone, ordered the unthinkable yet again. Under the cold cloak of night, he sent his men to her villa. As Agrippina sensed the cold breath of death nearing,
Smite my womb.
she met her fate with a stoic heart, her eyes staring into the abyss as cold steel robbed her of breath and life. His treachery continued with its gaze to Octavia, a delicate flower crushed under the heel of tyranny. Her marriage to Nero was a hollow echo of what love should be. The love she was promised turned into chains that bound her to a fate most cruel. In the year 62 AD, Nero, with accusations false as the fleeting shadows, charged her with adultery, supposedly so he could marry his mistress Poppaea Sabina. She was exiled and eventually met her end through a forced suicide. The initial calm waters of Nero's reign began showing signs of turmoil, threatening to drown the cultural blossoms in the storms of political chaos. Its marble halls echoing the laughter of the elite, the streets teemed with the buzz of prosperity. Yet, beneath the veneers, in the veil of night, Christians congregated in the clandestine embrace of catacombs. Encouraged by apostles Peter and Paul to keep the faith, their faces, lit only by the tender glow of candles, reveal a spectrum of society, from the weary faces of slaves to the hopeful eyes of patricians disillusioned by the hollow mirth of Roman indulgence. They huddled together, murmuring prayers of hope and forgiveness, their voices weaving faith that stretched the rigid social fabric of Rome. The nascent Christian community thrived. Their refusal to bow to Roman deities was a thorn in the traditionalists' side. They were the misfits, the rebels. Their faith was seen as a defiance against the gods who had blessed Rome with glory. As the Christians' numbers swelled, so did the resentment among the traditionalists. Mockery turns into hostility.
Oh, what feeble gods you worship.
One of the Christians, a young woman with eyes that held an ocean of serenity, spoke calmly.
Our God teaches love and forgiveness, something this city has forgotten in its pursuit of power.
Love? Forgiveness? Rome is built on power. Your weak God has no place here.
The others joined in, their laughter a sharp contrast to the peaceful chants of the Christians. They tore through the gathering, scattering the worshippers, their scornful laughter echoing through the streets. But as they dispersed, the murmur of prayers didn't cease. It only grew stronger, resonating through the hearts that longed for something pure, something divine. The Roman guards' jeers turn into lashes, their scorn into bloodshed. But with each strike, the Christians' resolve only deepens, their whispers of faith growing louder, echoing through the heart of Rome, setting a stage for an inevitable confrontation. As the sands of time slipped through the hourglass, Rome's fortune saw a dark dawn. in 64 AD. The city was set ablaze by a merciless inferno, consuming homes, temples, and lives. Nero had been away in Antium when the blaze began its dance of destruction through Rome. The night sky was painted in shades of fury as Nero rode back, his silhouette against the inferno that consumed the essence of his reign. With every crackle of fire, a reflection of despair laid upon Nero's face, but within those eyes, a storm brewed, one of vengeance. The terrace was filled with a haunting glow, casting long shadows as Nero and Seneca stood against the site of a crumbling Rome. The weight of Rome's scorn bore down upon Nero's shoulders, for the fire's birth was whispered through twisted tongues to have sprung from his madness.
Rome believes her emperor a monster.
Nero murmured, his gaze lost in the glowing embers, the remnants of his once glorious city.
You've raised taxes to rebuild the city. It's paramount that we approach this with unclouded judgment.
A sinister plan brewed within the cauldron of Nero's mind to divert the blame that gnawed at his reign.
The Christians. Rome's disdain for them can be the veil to cover my sins.
Seneca advised, his words heavy with the wisdom of years.
Accusing the Christians as you plan is a venomous route. Once set upon, there's no return.
They defy our gods, our way of life. Rome seeks a villain. I shall give them one.
Nero turned his back, his silhouette merging with the darkness as he looked upon the inferno before him. Nero set his scheme in motion. Seneca's sigh was lost to the night, his words of caution dissolving into the cold winds that swept through the embers of Rome. The rift between reason and wrath widening with each passing moment. As the night deepened, the flicker of the flames pursued the tales of a doomed fate, with Nero at its helm, steering through a course charted by rage, away from the shores of reason that Seneca so desperately tried to anchor him to. His relationship with Seneca soured as his whims bordered on cruelty, the philosopher's wisdom falling on deaf ears. Under a sky choked with ash from the incessant fires, the faithful were hunted down like beasts, their existence deemed heretical, their lives expendable. Nero, with his heart hardened and soul blackened, ordered his legion to apprehend the followers of Christ, amongst them Peter, a humble fisherman, now an apostle chosen by the Lord Jesus.
You have destroyed the beauty of Rome.
Nero gestured grandly towards the sprawling vista beyond the open balcony.
A beauty preserved by the gods we honor. Yet your kind forsakes them, inviting chaos.
Peter, though shackled, stood firm. His eyes, reflecting a calm and boundless ocean, met Nero's fiery gaze.
It's not beauty crafted by hands, but the love crafted by hearts that creates harmony, Emperor.
You speak of love and harmony, yet your teachings ignite discord among my people. I am the shepherd of Rome, and I shall not let wolves amidst my flock.
His decree was merciless. The knights bore witness to cruel games within the Colosseum. Christian flesh was tossed to hungry lions. The cheers of the bloodthirsty populace, drowning out the holy prayers whispered amidst the cries of torment. As the crimson sun sank beneath the ashes, the discontent among the Romans ripened. Nero's lust for power, his cruelty, had blinded him to the crumbling pillars of his dominion. The Senate, a once staunch ally, now murmured treachery. His tyranny had distanced the hearts of many, his madness a spectacle of fear and loathing. The whispers grew into roars, the discontent into rebellion. The Senate, fearful of his erratic vengeance, declared Nero a public enemy, his rule a reign of terror that bled Rome dry. Desperation clung to Nero as he fled the heart of the empire, his golden armor tarnished by dread. But fate's noose tightened, and in the seclusion of a forsaken villa, the tyrant's reign met a whimpering end. His trembling hand drove a blade through his throat, crimson rivers heralding the fall of a tyrant, the end of an era of fear. The city exhaled a breath held for far too long, the tears of the persecuted mingling with the soil, sowing the seeds of hope amidst the ruins of despair. And above it all, the cross stood tall, a silent sentinel bearing witness to the enduring spirit of faith.